Are you searching for personal development, motivation, self-help, success? Jesse Itzler. Well, you've come to the perfect place. Hang on.
Welcome to the Expect Success Podcast, a presentation of GeorgeBollock.com with your host, George Bollock. This podcast is for all things personal development. Don't expect success, prepare for it. Please welcome your host, George Bollock.
Welcome to Expect Success at GeorgeBollock.com. Now, in addition to listening to our podcast, you can also view the video format on YouTube at GeorgeTube.com. Jesse Itzler is an American entrepreneur, author, and rapper. He's the co-founder of Marquis Jet, one of the largest private jet card companies in the world. He's a partner in Zico Coconut Water, the founder of the 100 Mile Group, and the owner of the NBA's Atlanta Hawks. Now today, Jesse shares a crazy story and the valuable lesson it taught him. Listen to Jesse.
And I sit down, I go to this guy's apartment. Again, I'm 21. He's got, in his apartment, he's got a swimming pool, artwork. And he says to me, I would trade, this is exactly what he said to me, I will trade everything that I have. I'll trade everything I have for the one thing that you have. And I'm like, man, I'm fucking broke. What are you talking, me? And I remember when I was starting out, I was 21 years old. This is a crazy story. I just got dropped from a record label. I was signed to a record label called Delicious Vinyl. I was a rapper. So my album I don't get picked up for a second album, and I moved to New York City. I have two things on my resume: kiddie pool attendant, because I was a kiddie pool attendant, and rapper. So I'm staying on my friend's couch, living on his couch with his roommate, and he tells me on Monday, I got to get out of the apartment. So instead of going to look for a new apartment over the weekend, I go to my friend's bachelor party on the Jersey Shore. I'm at the bachelor party, I'm getting a drink at the bar, and I see this girl. I start chatting with her. She asked me where I live. I told her, actually, as of Monday, I have nowhere to go. She takes out a napkin. She writes her address on the napkin. I'm 21 years old. And she says, if it's an emergency on Monday and you're stuck, you can come live with me. Monday comes. I get kicked out of my friend's apartment. I have nowhere to go. I'm like, this is an emergency. I take out the napkin, and I live with this girl and her roommate for 6 months.
Whoa.
It turns out that her father is a big entrepreneur, he owns a piece of the Yankees, just like monster mogul. I write this song for the New York Knicks called Go New York Go, and it becomes a big success. It becomes a big hit. And I just realized that there's an opportunity to write theme songs for all these professional sports teams, but I don't have a penny to go in the studio to do the demos to shop them to the teams. So I need money. So I go to this music guy, and he says, I'll give you $10,000 to go and do these songs for 10% of everything you make for the rest of your life. He wants to buy me like a stock.
For the rest of your life?
I'm 21. He's like,
for the rest of your life, everything you do.
I will invest in you.
You own an airplane business. He owns 10%.
Yes.
Forever.
Yes. But I need the 10 grand. So I say, I'll take it. So before I take it, I go to this girl's father for advice, this business mogul that I'm living with. And I sit down, I go to this guy's apartment. Again, I'm 21. He's got, in his apartment, he's got a swimming pool, artwork, like fancy
swimming pool.
He's macked out, man. It's like I've never seen anything like this. And I go in and I tell him the story about
the 10%.
The 10 grand. And he says to me, I would trade, this is exactly what he said to me, I will trade everything that I have. I'll trade everything I have for the one thing that you have. And I'm like, man, I'm fucking broke. What are you talking, me? I go, what's that? And he said, youth. Because he had already gone through the journey. Even though he had everything, he already had gone through the process. He wasn't that 20-year-old that you're talking about, that whatever. He had gone through it. He had it all. He missed the process, the journey of being you coming up at 20 and not know, like, here you are, but it was those were the years, man.
Right.
The first fight, the first this, like that's what makes you like, so, and that stuck with me, man. At 21 years old, it stuck with me, and realized that, like, man, I got to enjoy the process, and it's really never rubbed off on me, from me.
Wow. So what did you wind up doing?
he said the second part of that conversation, he said, will you make this work on your own? I said, I think I can. He said, I didn't ask you if you can. He said, he said, will you make it work? I said, I will. He said, then go tell the guy to fuck off and make it. And he goes, then go make it work.
That's awesome. Now, for more about Jesse Itzler, simply search YouTube. And be sure to visit his website, jesseitzler.com. Jesse's famous audiobook, Living with a CEO, can be found at his website and or amazon.com. And I'll be sure to leave a link in the show notes. And remember, as the late great Jim Rohn used to say, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Today you've been hanging out with Jesse Itzler. Keep up the momentum. Subscribe to our newsletter so you never miss another episode. We'll catch you on the next show. And thanks a million for listening. See ya.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Expect Success Podcast with your host, George Bollick. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please rate, subscribe, and review. And find more great content online at georgebollick.com and on Facebook and Twitter at George Bollick. We'll catch you next time. And remember, don't just expect success, prepare for it.